You walk into your bank on a Monday morning. The marble floors gleam. The teller smiles. Everything feels safe, stable, secure. You check your balance, and there it sits. $10,000. Maybe 20, maybe 50, just sitting there in your checking account, earning you a grand total of 0.01% per year. That works out to $1, one single dollar of interest on $10,000 over 12 months. Meanwhile, that same bank takes your $10,000 the moment you deposit it and turns it into $100,000 of lending power through something called fractional reserve banking. They keep a small fraction in reserve and loan out the rest, multiple times over. They pay you $1 per year. They charge someone else 6% on a mortgage using your money. That is $600. They charge another person 12% on a personal loan. That is $1,200. They charge yet another person 23% on a credit card balance. That is $2,300 per year. Your $10,000 just generated thousands in revenue for the bank. You got $1. This is not a conspiracy. This is not hidden. This is the business model. And it works because most people never stop to ask the most important question in personal finance. Who is making money off my money while it sits still? My name is Alex. I spend an unreasonable amount of time thinking about the financial machinery most people ignore. Today we are going to talk about the greatest transfer of wealth happening in plain sight. The money you leave sitting in standard bank accounts is not resting. It is working, just not for you. Every dollar you keep in a checking account, earning 0.01%, is a dollar you are lending to the bank at nearly zero interest so they can lend it back out at 6, 12, or 23%. You are the fuel, they are the engine, and they keep all the horsepower. Here is what nobody tells you. Banks do not want your money because they like you. They want your money because it is their raw material. It is their inventory. The more you deposit, the more they can lend. The more they lend, the more they profit. And the spread between what they pay you and what they charge others is where fortunes are built. Let me give you the math in real numbers. As of January 2026, the average savings account at a major bank pays 0.61% annual interest. High-yield savings accounts, the ones you have to go online to find, pay around 4.2%. The national average for credit cards is 22.3%. Personal loans average 12.26%. Mortgages sit around 6.2%. So if you have $10,000 sitting in a regular savings account at 0.61%, you make $61 in a year. If that same $10,000 were in a high-yield account at 4.2%, you would make $420. That is a difference of $359 for doing absolutely nothing except moving money from one account to another. But it gets worse. Much worse. If you invested that same $10,000 in a simple S&P 500 index fund, history tells us you would average around 10% per year over the long term. After adjusting for inflation, that is closer to 7% real return. $10,000 growing at 7% per year becomes $20,000 in 10 years. It becomes $40,000 in 20 years. Your bank account at 0.61%, $10,000 becomes $10,630 in 10 years. In 20 years, you have $11,300. The difference is not small. It is life-changing. It is the difference between having $40,000 and having $11,000. That is $29,000 of wealth you handed to time and inertia because you left your money in the wrong place. And here is the kicker. While your money sat there making you $61 per year, the bank used it to generate thousands. They loaned it out at 12%. They leveraged it 10 times over through fractional reserves. They made 6 figures off your 5 figures and gave you lunch money. This is the machine, and you are on the wrong side of it. Now let us talk about why this happens. Why do smart people leave tens of thousands of dollars in accounts earning essentially nothing? The answer is simple: convenience and inertia. You opened that checking account 15 years ago when you got your first job. Your paycheck goes there. Your bills come out of there. It works. It is easy. You never questioned it because the balance just sits there looking safe. But safe is not the same as smart. Safe means your money will not disappear. Smart means your money works for you while staying safe. And there is a massive difference between those two things. Banks have spent billions of dollars making their services feel seamless and convenient. Mobile apps, instant transfers, ATMs everywhere. They want you comfortable. They want you to never think about moving your money because the moment you start thinking about it, you realize you are getting a terrible deal. Every dollar sitting in your checking account is a loan you are giving the bank at 0% interest. They do not pay you anything meaningful, but they sure as hell charge everyone else double digits when they lend that same dollar out. And before you say you need all that money liquid for emergencies, let me stop you right there. You do need an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting somewhere you can access it quickly, but that money should be in a high-yield savings account earning 4 or 5%, not a checking account earning 0.01%. It is still liquid. You can still transfer it in seconds, but now it is actually earning something. The problem is not keeping cash accessible. The problem is keeping all your cash in the lowest earning place possible out of pure habit. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Your bank does not want you to know about high-yield savings accounts. They certainly do not want you to know about index funds or treasury bonds or money market accounts that pay 5 times what they are giving you. Why? Because the moment you move your money, they lose their raw material, they lose their leverage, they lose the spread. Every $10,000 you pull out of their system is $10,000 they cannot multiply and lend. It is $100,000 of lending capacity they just lost. They will smile at you at the teller window, but internally, they are tracking deposit outflows like a hawk because deposits are their lifeblood. In 2024, the global banking industry made $1.2 trillion in profit. That is the highest profit total ever recorded for any industry in history. 1.2 trillion. JP Morgan alone made $58.5 billion, becoming the first bank ever to top $50 billion in annual profit. Where do you think that profit came from? It came from the spread, the difference between what they pay you and what they charge everyone else. It came from fees. Overdraft fees that average $35 per incident, monthly maintenance fees, ATM fees, late payment fees. It came from credit card interest at 23% on balances that people cannot pay off. But most of all, it came from regular people leaving money in low-interest accounts while the bank leveraged that money into high-interest loans. You are not a customer, you are inventory. Your deposits are their product, and the less they pay you, the more they keep. Now let me show you what banks do with money that you are not doing. Banks invest aggressively. They do not keep cash sitting idle. They put it to work immediately. They buy treasury bonds earning 4 to 5% risk-free. They lend it out at 6 to 23%. They invest in securities. They leverage it 10 to 1. They treat money like a tool that must produce returns every single day. And they are right to do that. But you leave it in checking. You let it sit. You sacrifice 5, 8, 10% annual returns because moving money feels like work. This is the arbitrage game, and you are on the losing side. Arbitrage is when you profit from a price difference. Banks borrow from you at 0.61% and lend at 12%. That 11.4% spread is pure profit. They do this billions of times over with millions of customers. You can do the exact same thing in reverse. Borrow cheap if you have to, but invest in assets that earn more than your cost of capital. Keep your emergency fund liquid in high-yield savings at 4 to 5%. Invest everything else in diversified index funds, averaging 7 to 10% over time. The spread is yours now. The difference between 4% on your safe money and 8% on your invested money compounds into serious wealth over decades. But you have to make the decision to move. And that is where most people fail. Because moving money requires effort. It requires opening new accounts. It requires setting up transfers. It requires learning the difference between a money market fund and a mutual fund and an index fund. It is not hard. It is just unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels risky even when it is not. So let me make this as simple as possible. Here is the system that works. You need 3 buckets, 3 layers of money with 3 different jobs. Bucket 1 is your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. This money must be accessible within 24 hours. No penalties, no waiting. Put this in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5%. Right now, that is easy to find. Go online, search high-yield savings, open an account in 10 minutes, transfer the money. Done. This is not your checking account. This is not the account your paycheck hits. This is your "oh shit, I lost my job" fund. It sits there. It earns interest. It protects you. And because it is in a high-yield account instead of a standard account, it actually grows instead of rotting. Bucket 2 is your short-term goals fund. This is money you will need in 1 to 3 years. Maybe you are saving for a down payment. Maybe you are buying a car. Maybe you are planning a wedding. This money also needs to be safe, but you have a little more flexibility. Put this in treasury bonds or a money market fund. These earn 4 to 5% right now and are backed by the US government. Zero risk of loss. Higher yield than a savings account. Still accessible if you need it, but better returns because you are willing to wait a few days for the money to settle. Bucket 3 is your wealth building fund. This is money you will not touch for 5 years or longer. This is retirement money. This is generational wealth money. This is the money that changes your life in 20 or 30 years. Put this in low-cost index funds. S&P 500, total stock market index, whatever. The point is, you are buying a diversified slice of the entire economy and letting it grow over decades. Historically, this averages 10% per year nominal, 7% after inflation. That is what turns 50,000 into 500,000 over a career. The biggest mistake people make is keeping Bucket 3 money in Bucket 1. They leave money that will not be touched for 10 years sitting in a checking account earning nothing because they never thought about where it should actually go. That 10-year mistake costs them double or triple their original investment. So here is what you do today, right now, before you close this video. Step 1. Calculate your true emergency fund need. 3 to 6 months of expenses. Rent, food, insurance, utilities. Real numbers, not inflated numbers, not your entire bank balance. Step 2. Move that amount into a high-yield savings account. There are dozens of options. Pick one. Do not overthink it. 4 to 5% is 4 to 5%. Open it online. Transfer the money. Takes 15 minutes. Step 3. Open a brokerage account. Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab. Any of them work. These are not scary. They are not complicated. You can open one in 10 minutes with your phone. Step 4. Set up automatic monthly transfers from your checking into your brokerage account. $50, $100, $500, whatever you can afford. Automate it so you do not have to think about it. Step 5. Buy a simple index fund inside that brokerage account. Total stock market index. Send and P 500. Something boring and diversified. Set it to reinvest dividends automatically, then forget about it for 10 years. That is it. That is the entire system. You just went from being the bank's raw material to being your own investor. You just went from earning 0.01% to earning 7 to 10%. You just went from letting your money rot to letting it compound. And the banks? They just lost a customer. Not in the sense that you closed your checking account. You still need that for bills and daily life. But you stopped being their profit center. You stopped giving them free money to leverage. You took your future back. Now here is what will happen when you do this. For the first few months, nothing will feel different. Your high-yield savings will earn a few extra dollars. Your index fund will go up some days and down others. It will feel like you did a bunch of work for no immediate reward. That is normal. Wealth is not built in weeks. It is built in decades. But then something shifts. You check your account 6 months later and there is an extra $200 you did not put there. That is interest and growth. You check a year later and there is $1,000 of gains. You check 5 years later and your $50,000 turned into $75,000 without you doing anything except not touching it. And that is when it clicks. You were not investing in the market. You were investing in time. And time, when properly leveraged with compound growth, is the most powerful wealth-building tool that exists. The banks know this. That is why they invest every dollar instantly. That is why they leverage your deposits 10 times over. That is why they make billions while paying you pennies. They want you to think investing is complicated. They want you to think you need a financial advisor and a complicated portfolio and some secret knowledge, because if you realize it is actually simple, you stop needing them. You stop leaving money in their system. You stop paying their fees. You stop being their product. And that terrifies them. Because the moment millions of people wake up and realize they can earn 4 to 8% on their cash instead of 0.01%, billions of dollars start leaving the banking system. Not all of it. People still need checking accounts. But the excess, the cash that just sits there, that starts moving to places where it actually grows. And when that happens, banks lose their leverage. They lose their raw material. They lose the spread. This is why they make it so easy to keep money with them and so annoying to move it elsewhere. This is why your checking account has instant transfers, but moving money to a brokerage takes 3 days. This is why they do not advertise their high-yield savings accounts. This is why their financial advisors push expensive managed funds instead of cheap index funds. The system is designed to keep your money in their system because your inertia is their profit. But here is the good news. You do not need permission to leave. You do not need to close your accounts or burn bridges or make some dramatic statement. You just need to move the excess. The money that is sitting idle, the money that should be working but is not. That is the money that changes everything. Let me give you one final number to make this stick. The average American has around $10,000 in their checking and savings accounts combined. If that money is earning 0.61% at a traditional bank, it makes $61 per year. If that same $10,000 were split properly, $3,000 in high-yield savings at 5% and $7,000 in index funds at 8%, it would earn $150 plus $560 equals $710 in year one. That is a difference of $649. Over 10 years, assuming you do nothing else. The traditional bank route gives you $10,630. The smart route gives you around $16,000. That is $5,400 for moving money once. Over 20 years, the gap becomes $20,000. Over 30 years, it becomes $50,000 or more. Same starting amount. Same person. Different choice. That is the cost of inertia. That is the cost of convenience. That is the cost of letting banks use your money while paying you nothing. And the crazy part, most people will watch this video, nod along, agree with everything I said, and do absolutely nothing. They will leave their money exactly where it is because moving it feels like work. If that is you, fine. I am not here to force anyone, but understand what you are choosing. You are choosing to let banks profit off your deposits while you collect spare change. You are choosing to give up $5, $10, $20,000 or more over your lifetime because opening an account feels annoying. That is the trade. Convenience today for wealth tomorrow. Most people pick convenience, and that is why most people retire broke. But you are not most people. You watched this far. You clearly care about this stuff, so do not let this be another piece of information you agree with and ignore. Go open that high-yield savings account right now, not tomorrow, not next week, today. It takes 10 minutes. Then open a brokerage account, another 10 minutes. Set up a $50 automatic monthly transfer into an index fund, 5 more minutes. In 25 minutes, you just changed your financial trajectory for the rest of your life. You just stopped being the bank's inventory and started being your own wealth builder. That is the move. That is what banks do not want you doing with their money. They want you leaving it with them, earning nothing, so they can leverage it into everything. Stop letting them. Your money, your future, your choice. Move it. Invest it. Let it grow. That is how you win.